Graham McTavish.
That's comfy. That's really comfy. Very good, very good. Nice. That is the biggest screen I've ever seen at one of these things. It's just gigantic. Wow. 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 Look at the size of that. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I'm just staring at the screen.
Good afternoon, Graham.
Yes, good afternoon.
As was explained earlier, we're going to have a one-on-one talk for the beginning, and then people can ask questions.
Yep.
So, is this your first time in Belgium?
Actually, I've actually been lying a little bit to people who've asked that question. I thought this was my first time in Belgium, but I actually visited it as part of a tour of First World War battlefields that three of my great uncles died in the First World War, and I organized with a guide to take me to all the locations, and a couple of those locations were in Belgium. So I have been here before, so that was just a lie that I hadn't been.
Do you like being in Belgium?
Well, I mean, to be honest, well, the first time visiting First World War battlefields was, you know, mourning the death of my great uncles wasn't, you know, a barrel of laughs, but this time I just got off the plane this morning, so the extent of my seeing Belgium has been inside the convention hall, but so far, very nice. Somebody gave me some chocolates, which was very nice. That's not a hint, by the way. Oh, there you go, thank you for the chocolates. Yeah, because I do like Belgian chocolate, yes, very much. I've got a very weak, sweet tooth for chocolate. Again, not a hint, just an observation.
You're from the UK, Scotland.
Correct.
Back when I was in England, there was a party game, and it was, can you name 3 famous Belgians?
3 famous Belgians.
Yeah, because the idea was, or the fun was, nobody can name, there are no 3 famous Belgians. So, can you name 3 famous Belgians?
Oh boy, okay. Let me think, well, Tintin.
1.
Yeah. Well, Captain Haddock was Scottish. Okay, oh God. I've got to be able to think. Hold on. Let me think about this. Belgium. This is just embarrassing already. This is terrible. I mean, I'm sure there are hundreds of famous Belgians.
There's about 10 which are really famous.
There's going to be more than 10. Well, okay. I feel like there's one on the tip of my tongue and I can't think who it is. Belgium. No, okay, I'm going to give up.
Surrealistic painter,
Yes.
René Magritte.
Oh, right, yes, of course, Magritte, yes. I love Magritte, yes.
By the way, I'll ask you the same question tomorrow, so we can prepare
Yeah,
tonight.
no, that's great. I prefer Tintin.
Okay.
Magritte, but, you know, no offense to Magritte.
And then maybe the third one would be Adolphe Sax, the guy who invented the saxophone, was actually a Belgian.
Oh, really?
Adolphe Sax, that's why they call it a saxophone. So,
I never knew either of those things. That's why they call it a saxophone.
Yes.
Wow, imagine having an instrument named after you. That's interesting. Yes.
What kind of sound would your instrument make?
Mine, very sort of loud and aggressive, probably. Probably not the kind of instrument you want to listen to very much. It's actually one of my great regrets that I don't play a musical instrument. Both my children play. My youngest plays the piano and my eldest plays the violin. And a terrible regret. It's not too late, I suppose. You know, I could, later on this afternoon, I could start learning the bagpipes or something, but I would love to, and yeah.
It's never too late.
It isn't, no, I know. I wouldn't attempt the saxophone, though. No, that would just be awful for everyone.
Now, you're obviously known and famous as being an actor. What's one perk of being an actor nobody expects?
A perk?
Yes.
Of being an actor? Well, the thing is, you know, the thing about actors is that there's a joke about what the collective noun of actors is, and it's a whine, a sort of whinge of actors. So a complaint, really. You know, because actors, this is not all actors, not all at all, but some of them do have a tendency to complain about stuff. You know, where is this? Why haven't I got this? This is wrong. This is too early. Why have I been called? You know, when am I going to be used? You know, what they've said. Now, part of that is because they feel completely powerless. So, when you arrive on set, unless you're the producer, you are part of a very big machine, which is making a TV show or a film. And a lot of that for actors is to do with waiting. So you sit and you start to feel a little kind of sort of stupid. You're sort of sitting there, you know, and nobody comes to tell you anything, and you're like, you know, do we know when we're going to be? You don't? Okay, fine, yeah. And so you sit there, and so actors start to get a bit complainy, but in fact, actors, I suppose the perk would be, look, you get picked up in the morning, you get taken to work, people bring you coffee and food and show you into a nice little room where you can sit and wait. And then you get taken on set, you do your thing, and then you get driven home. That's a perk. I mean, I've done other jobs before I was an actor, and I didn't have any of those things. So I regard that as a perk, and I don't take it for granted either.
Okay, what would be the most unexpected thing about acting?
The most unexpected thing about being an actor? Well, I suppose well, it's not unexpected, but it's the unpredictability of it. And I don't just mean in terms of whether you're working or not. It's the unpredictability of the moments that you're in. The fact that what you're doing as an actor on stage or on film or on television is creating something in the moment that is very ephemeral. So that's not unexpected, but it's very much part of the job. So you get used to having to think on your feet. But I'm sure that's true of a lot of jobs, to be fair. But acting is weird that way, you know. I mean, you're very reliant on other people. So actors tend to be very supportive of each other because they all know how stressful it is. I remember being told, and this was to do with going on stage, that the stress on the human body when you're about to go on for the first time on a press night, so a first performance of a play, is the equivalent of being in a car crash at 30 miles an hour. So, and I've felt this myself, that as you're about to go on, so you're standing in the wings, and then there's the stage, and there's the audience, you know, like maybe 1,000 people, 500 people, whatever. And there's a moment where you have to cross that threshold onto the stage. And once you're on the stage, you can't suddenly go, oh, actually, I don't feel like doing this, I'm going away. You're on. And there is that feeling just before you step on that your body is screaming at you not to do it. Your brain is saying, this is ridiculous. What are you doing? You're sort of standing in front of complete strangers, pretending to be somebody else, trying to remember lines. Why don't you just go home? And so that it's not unexpected, but it's certainly a factor.
Talking about stress, after a day on the set, do you have any rituals or habits that help you wind down, cool down?
Wine. Yes, wine. I remember Adam Brown and I, when we were doing The Hobbit, used to compare how quickly we had a glass of wine after we finished filming. I think Adam beat me because he didn't even use a glass. So he would just drink straight from the bottle because we would be so exhausted and just so relieved to be out of the prosthetics that, yeah, I remember I would arrive home and my wife would be there, and I would barely acknowledge her as I walked straight to the fridge and just got the wine. So yeah, that's my go-to. And it was the same on stage. I used to be able to beat people in the audience to the bar. I actually used to be able, like in a theatre like this, I would be doing the play in costume. We would do the curtain call. I would walk off into the wings. I would be out of my costume and in the bar drinking before most of the audience had come out of the theatre. It's absolutely true. And they would look at me like, weren't you just on stage? And I'd be like, yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Still talking about stress, I don't know if you know this, but Ian McKellen, during the filming of Lord of the Rings, he broke down once because he was surrounded by green screens. And he said, I didn't sign up to become an actor to be surrounded by green screens. For you, are you more of a green screen fan or a real life special effects fan?
Oh yeah, well Ian, that was actually on The Hobbit that happened. Yeah. It was during the filming of Bag End, and Ian was on a separate set to us, the dwarves, and we'd all rehearsed together, but Ian had to go into a scale version of Bag End that was all green screen, and there were lighting stands that had our faces on them that would light up when we spoke, and we had earpieces that we could hear each other's dialogue. And yeah, he did. He broke down and said exactly that. He found it very stressful. I'm not a fan. No, I'm not. Not as an actor, really. Definitely not as an actor. Not really as an audience member, to be absolutely honest. I like in-camera effects, real live stuff. I think. It's amazing what they can do, but I do honestly believe that we all secretly know the difference between something that's real in front of us. Certainly at the moment, anyway. There may come a time when they can fool us completely, and when we see something that is real, when we see something happen in front of us on a film that is absolutely real, we respond to it differently as humans, I think. We become much more immersed in the experience, whereas I think with CGI we can be very, very appreciative as a spectator, as an audience member, but there is a gap, there's a barrier that I feel anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you could have chosen any role whatsoever that has been played by anybody in any movie or series, which one would you have chosen?
Well, I mean, oh my God, there's so many. I mean, most of which I would be completely inappropriate for, but yeah. I mean, look, I grew up worshipping Batman, right? And this was in the days when Batman was a TV show with Adam West. And I used to dress as Batman after each episode. My best friend who lived next door, he would be Robin and I would be Batman. And my costume, I mean, it's laughable when you see what people wear at these sort of things, which are so sophisticated. My costume was the tablecloth from my mother's kitchen table worn around my shoulders. And I don't know, do you know what a tea cozy is? It's what you use to keep tea warm. You know, you put it on top of the teapot. I would wear that on my head. And that was my costume. And I thought it was great. And my friend would run out in something similar, and we would just have the best time. And so I absolutely believed totally in Batman. I guess I was about 5 or 6. And when, I think that's true, especially of children, hopefully still is true, that they believe so deeply in something that they're seeing, which is why I think we have to be careful what we expose them to. I mean, for instance, the first film I saw was Peter Pan, the animated version of Peter Pan, the Disney film, in a cinema. When they took it out of the cinema, I couldn't understand it. I thought, well, where's Peter gone? Well, where is he living now? What's happened to him? Because I thought that animated film was real as a 5-year-old. And so Batman, I guess, would be the one, yeah. But I'd never be asked to play Batman, so let's just put that to bed. It's never gonna happen. I'm never gonna put the cape on. It's never gonna happen. It's very sad.
Did you imitate the sound effects from the old series with your...
Oh yeah, the sound effects were fantastic. Yeah, when he would punch people, kapow, and yeah. And looking back on it, when I look at it now, it's so satirical, and all of that went completely over my head. I had no idea there was any comedy in Batman. I just thought it was very, very serious. But anyway, yeah.
If anybody in the audience would like to become an actor, what tip would you give them?
Well, yes. What tip would I give anybody who wanted to be an actor? Well, I think the main thing is you can't want to be an actor, in my opinion. You have to be an actor. It's because to overcome the obstacles and the disappointments that are inevitable and the rejection, which is frequent, you need to have such an overwhelming need to do it that carries you through. But after that, the best thing you can do is not wait for people to give you jobs. So write your own play, do somebody else's play, but do it for no money. Just anything to actually experience the act of doing it is very important, I think.
Now, going from acting to fame. Fame, do you love it or do you hate it?
Fame? Yeah, it's a weird, I honestly don't really think about that. I don't, because I think as soon as you start thinking about that, I think that's a very dangerous road to go on mentally. I don't think we're designed as humans to be, recognized in that way. I mean, I don't mind. I absolutely don't mind if anybody asks me for a picture or an autograph. I appreciate and understand, and I feel the same about things that I see. But if by fame you mean a feeling of specialness, I don't feel that at all. I feel that I'm doing something that I've loved for over 40 years, and I'm very lucky to be able to do it. I'm very lucky if people like anything that I've done. I take it all with a pinch of salt, I really do. I remember when I worked with Sylvester Stallone on Rambo, he said to me, the best actors are ones that you will never know their names. You will never know who they are. Some of them will maybe never work, and they are brilliant actors that will be denied the possibility of showing that. And that's almost a unique thing about the art of acting, is that it requires somebody to allow you to do it in order for it to be seen. So, you can pick up a violin and play it, and be a brilliant violinist, and you don't need an audience. You can write a book and nobody reads it, but you can't act to nobody. I mean, maybe you can in the bathroom or something, you can pretend, but it sort of defeats the purpose of acting. Acting is a shared experience. And so I think what Stallone meant by that is that, the best actors you will never know anything about. And so I've always remembered that, and it's a kind of reminder not to take yourself too seriously.
But between us, did you ever use your fame to obtain something like, a table in a fully booked restaurant?
Never, no. Okay. No, I would never do that, no.
Never?
No, I just think people who do that are complete wankers, yeah. No, I do. I mean, I know people who have, and I know one who will remain nameless tried it at a restaurant, and the restaurant wasn't impressed at all. They just went, it's full. Okay. So yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
How has fatherhood changed you?
Fatherhood? Interesting question. Fatherhood's changed me completely. Completely. I mean, I'm sure many people in the audience are parents, or intend to be parents, and I think I've compared it to, I was late to it. I was in my mid-40s before my eldest daughter was born. And I compare it to, like, anybody who asks me about, we're expecting a baby, our first baby, we're thinking about having a baby, any advice? And I said, well, look, the thing is that it's like you're in a house and you've experienced all these rooms, and they're really lovely rooms, and you enjoy revisiting them, and they're these great places that you can hang out in, familiar and comfortable. And then there's this room in the house that you've never been in. And you've always looked at it, you always looked at the room and you're like, I wonder what it's like inside that room, but you're not sure about going into it. And then one day, you say, I'm gonna go into the room. I'm gonna go into the room. And you open the door and you walk into the room and you shut the door behind you. And it's a good room, it's a great room. You're having fun, you're having fun. And then you think, you know what? I've had enough of this fun, this is really good, I'm gonna step out now. And you turn around and there's no handle on the inside of the door. There's no way out of the room. That's the room you're in now. And that's what it's like being a parent. And it's a great room, and I love, it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, and also the thing that motivates me the most. Yeah.
My final question before we give the microphone to the audience: if you were to interview yourself, what question would you ask yourself?
What would I ask myself? Oh God, what would I ask myself? Yeah, wow. I'd ask myself, or perhaps I'd tell myself not to. I would be interviewed by my very young self, I think. I'd be interviewed by my 12-year-old self and see what questions that version of myself would ask me. And I think that would be interesting. The things that you might want when you're a child, and whether you feel that you've achieved them, or if you have, were they as you expected. So I would ask myself questions about that in terms of the gap in my life between being a child and being an adult. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure your 12-year-old would be very proud of.
Well, that's very nice of you to say that. That's very nice of you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, your turn. Don't be shy. There's a microphone there. Graham doesn't bite usually.
Oh my God, that's an extraordinary microphone. Wow.
Hi. I was wondering, in movies and series, you're very different in every movie and series.
Right.
How do you do it? How do you get in the man's side to not be yourself in everything?
Yeah. I get asked this sometimes, and I think my answer is always a bit disappointing, because I mean, I wish I could sit here and say, you know, oh, I went off and lived in the Highlands of Scotland, and you know, ran around in a kilt, and you know, lived like a Highlander in order to do Outlander, or you know, researched Satan doing Lucifer or whatever. But I sort of refer you back to my 12-year-old self, because children have this wonderful ability to blur reality and fiction. So they can transition between the two very easily. You know, you look at a child playing, and a child can be completely lost in that world of whatever they're doing, the make-believe that they're creating. And they can be brought out of it like that, just like that. They say, dinner's ready, and you're like, okay, yeah. Yeah, and they stop playing. And children are so gifted in being able to do that. And for me, I've retained, I suppose, that ability. I do very little preparation. I like being in the moment. I like being spontaneous. I like reacting, because I think acting in the main is about reaction. So as long as you're listening to what somebody is saying, and obviously you have the script, so you know what the guy is going to say, and what he says reveals a great deal about him or her, then you're okay. I think the common mistake that people make with acting is that they overcomplicate it. So acting is in some ways very, very simple, but its simplicity is often very hard to achieve, if that makes sense. So we interact with each other all the time. You listen to what people are saying, unless you're a narcissistic egomaniac and don't care what anybody says. But you listen, and then when they say something, you react. If they say something that upsets you, you're upset. If they say something that makes you laugh, you know. And so we're doing it all the time. And acting is just about retaining that experience within the context of the script that you're given. And so it's, for me, it's not, I don't do that kind of, you know, I research, you know, I enjoy the history. Like if I'm given a job that has history involved, I love doing that, finding out about the Highlands in the 18th century, all of that, I loved it. But in terms of the characters, I mean, the script is obviously enormously helpful. The other characters are hugely helpful. And really just being, trying to be relaxed. Being relaxed, because tension, unless it's appropriate, sort of kills creativity, I think. So, yeah, I try and be relaxed. Yeah.
Next question, please.
Hello, Graham.
Hello.
I have a problem. You just answered the question. Anyway, I will give it. Talking about imagination and how approach a new character. How did you see an evolution in your way to do it with the decade in your job?
So, do you mean the more experience?
The way to approach, you know.
The more experience I had,
your maturity,
how it changed.
your experience.
Yeah, for sure. So, blimey. Wow.
Don't do it with this one, please.
No. That was very scary. Well caught, the nun. Very good. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like having children definitely affects you. Just getting older, you know, you just experience more stuff. Having said that, you know, I've seen some brilliant, amazing children act. But perhaps that goes back to my earlier point that children are just so brilliant at that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've definitely changed. I mean, if you're open to learning from people you're working with, you know, and I've worked with some very good people, you learn from them, hopefully. You pay attention. And I remember when I was doing The Hobbit, looking at, watching Ian McKellen do certain scenes, and his technical mastery was just amazing to watch. What he could do with his voice and tiny gestures, the ability to play with the camera, really, like a dance. It was just amazing. And so if you pay attention to those people, and often, if you're watching them, like you're standing there and they're doing it and the camera's near them, it appears they're doing nothing at all. And you're thinking, oh God, this is going to be shit. It's going to be awful. And then you watch it, and it's just amazing. So I try and remind myself of those things. When you're, you know, some like great notes that were given to me. I remember the last play I did, which is now 17 years ago, which is really scary. I did a play at the Royal Court in London called Rainbow Kiss, and I played an extremely violent Scottish gangster. No surprise there. And yeah, he was horrific. I mean, my first entrance was axing through a door with a fireman's axe. And the audience weren't even expecting this character to appear, and suddenly I just smashed the door down with a fireman's axe, walk on, go up to the other actor on stage, headbutt him, drag him to the front of the stage like there, get a box cutter blade, and slash his face open and sort of spray blood across the first two rows. And that's before I even speak. So it was the most extraordinary entrance. But I remember when I was doing that, because I was playing a very, as I say, very violent man, or a man capable of horrific violence. And we were doing an exercise in how would that man behave when he's alone. And it's a very interesting exercise if you ever feel like doing it. if you give yourself a character and you think, how would that person behave? So are they a nervous person? Are they somebody who likes to make people laugh or whatever? My character he was like a machine. And what we did in the exercise was I was left alone in the room and I didn't move at all, not at all. And it's very hard for actors to do that. They want to move. They want to do something. So they want to sit, if they're sitting, they want to sort of go, you know, move their arm or look around, you know, take people in, that kind of thing. They want to be like, look, I'm acting, I'm doing things, right? And the director said, no, do nothing, right? And so there's a scene in the play where the other actor goes off to get money, right? And I've threatened his life, I've done appalling things to him, I mean, it's just ghastly, right? He goes off to get me money, and he's off stage for about 90 seconds, which doesn't sound long, but on stage, that's a long time for nobody to speak. It's kind of uncomfortable, you know, you're like, well, is anybody going to say anything? And it was just me on stage, right? And it was on a sofa like this. And so he said to me, don't do anything. And so what I did, I'll do it briefly. What I did was he left the room and I sat like this. And after a while, it starts to become very uncomfortable. People start to not like that. They're not used to it. This is not an okay way to behave. And it sort of almost breaks a contract with the audience. The actors are supposed to do things, and this guy is just staring at the audience. But the point that the director was making was that, like a machine, when he's not required to do anything, he just powers down. He literally does nothing. And it was a really great lesson to learn. And the other thing that the same director taught me was when you're doing something aggressive or violent, it's much more effective not to raise your voice, first of all. Much more effective. So if you threaten somebody, which I have done many times on stage and in film and TV, when you threaten somebody, if you threaten them quietly, it's much more terrifying. And the mistake that I see lots of actors doing, and I'm doing it a little bit myself at the moment, is pointing. So if I'm sort of going, you know, I'm going to come over and I'm going to get you, and you're going to, no, don't point. Don't point. It weakens you. So all of those things, this very long-winded answer to what you asked, you learn all those things along the way because you don't know. You don't know unless somebody says to you, you know what you're doing there? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And there was a great scene. I was watching a show with Al Pacino in it, and he lures this guy. It's called Hunters, and he's I won't spoil the plot, but anyway, he lures this guy to a bar, a restaurant, and he's really nice to him. He's really nice to him. It's like, hey, let's go back to your place, you know, we'll sort this out. You know, and he's an old man. He's like, he's like 80 something. He's an old man. They're walking along an alleyway and they're just chatting and they're chatting and they're chatting. And he just like that, he just cuts his throat. He doesn't do a big kind of like, I'm gonna cut your throat. You know, he just, and he's dead. And it's so shocking, way more effective than like performed violence. So I do sound like I'm just obsessed with violence. Yes. I'm not, but it's interesting. Yeah.
I'll just move to the other chair now.
Yes.
Okay, we got time for one final question. The blue box is there.
Oh, hello, blue box.
Hello, Greg. How was it to play Douglas Mackenzie in Outlander with Sam and Catriona?
How was it working with Sam and Katrina?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Until they murdered me. You know. It was all fine. Things were going on really well. I thought we had a really great future. But no. No, they decided to stab me. No, they were great. The great thing about working with them was that really it was Sam and Katrina's first big job, really, first major role. And so we all bonded together, the people that played the Highlanders and Katrina, as a group. And it meant that the experience was very shared and supportive. And so we had a lot of laughs. So you didn't have a sort of hierarchy, which sometimes can happen on films and TV. You know, there's the experienced person, the star name, and then we didn't have that. And I've been lucky in a couple of things like that. I would even class Rambo as one of those, even though obviously Sylvester Stallone is sort of a massive movie star. Everyone else in it was not really known. And so that was also very supportive. And I would also count Lucifer as such an experience. Because Tom, who is here, lovely Tom, and Lauren, who played the two leads in that show, it was a very similar atmosphere to Outlander. Very supportive, very like a family. And it always makes for better performances, always makes for a better show. And I really believe that even when you're watching shows where somebody's a villain, you can always tell that they get on, whether they get on with each other as people, as real people. And you can always tell, I can, who the dick is, if there's one in the cast. You go, I bet I can just imagine he'd be a nightmare. And you know, and often I turn out to be right. So yeah, it was very, very lovely. And you know, Sam remains a very, very close friend, and I see Katrina every now and then. I mean, Sam obviously tortures me as well, but I guess that's what friends do. Yeah, so.
Well, Graham, I'm afraid I have to put an end to the most violent Q&A we ever had. So, ladies and gentlemen,